MSW Media.
So yeah, now it's clean up on aisle 45 time. And for a long while yet, it is going to be clean up on aisle 45.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to episode 275 of Clean Up on Aisle 45/47. It's Wednesday, April 29th, 2026. We started this show when it was 45, so that's how long we've been doing this.
And cleaning up the mess ever since.
So it's like a hoarder's house. There's just too much. But anyway, hey, I'm Allison Gill.
What's up, AG? Hey, it's Harry Dunn here. All right, so we got a hell of a lot to cover today, including a new lawsuit filed by a former colleague of mine, a former Capitol Police officer, against a right-wing media organization that claimed that she was the pipe bomber, and new charges against a No Kings counter-protester for possession, guess, of child pornography.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Common theme with these films.
7 in 10 January 6th recidivists agree.
Yep.
That's not that many, but it's a lot. 1 in 230, I think. I have done the back of the envelope math. Plus, we have Senate Democrats doing something. They're pushing back against the Department of Justice's recalcitrance on the Tom Homan kava bag bribe investigation. And there's some trouble for Trump's $10 billion lawsuit against himself via the IRS. And although we don't have any Rudy and the Pillowman news today, we do have an update on a long forgotten colleague, the good old Devin Nunes. Nunes. They're not saying boo, they're saying Nunes.
Nunes.
We have an update on him. But first, we have some new patrons to thank. So thank you to Dons, Rob, Emma Joy Jampole, Chris Withers, and Tiny Hands Bigly Crimes. I like that.
That's pretty good.
And speaking of patrons, our June 20th patron gala in Chicago, it's sold out in like 2 hours. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody there. Harry, you'll be there. And I'm planning another gala, an election night watch party.
Woohoo.
So if you want to be able to hang out with some of us, Harry would probably be at his own election night watch
Might be
party.
a little busy, guys.
But if you want to hang out with us and watch the returns and have cocktails and mocktails and snacks in person as a VIP, you can join us on Patreon at patreon.com/aisle45pod, AISLE45POD. So you'll also get these episodes ad-free and early. You'll get the weekly bonus episode, ticket links for galas, invites to our monthly Zoom happy hours, where you can hang out with us virtually. And our next one of those is this Thursday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, 7:30 Eastern.
It'll be fun.
Thanks for supporting independent media to our patrons.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. We definitely need some independent media. First up is a story from Politico. And this is one of your former colleagues, Harry. Former Capitol Police officer who helped fend off the January 6th attack is suing a right-wing media outlet for accusing her of being the pipe bomber, of planting pipe bombs that became a key inflection point in that day's chaos. Shawnee Kirkhoff, am I saying that properly?
Yep, that's correct. That's right.
She's 31. She accused Blaze Media and 2 of its former reporters of relying on faulty gate analysis of surveillance footage to wrongly suggest she was the person who planted the pipe bombs because of how she walked in the video, because of how the pipe bomber walked in the video. Who planted the pipe bombs outside the RNC and DNC on January 5th. The false accusations triggered conspiracy theories, threats, and an FBI investigation.
Yeah, to quote, they simply made it up. This is from lawyers from Kirkhoff argue in the 127-page lawsuit filed on Tuesday in federal district court in Alexandria, Virginia. Ms. Kirkhoff was not the January 6th pipe bomber. She was a normal, private person with a family, career, and hobbies who was at home with her boyfriend and their dog at the exact time a hooded suspect was captured on CCTV placing pipe bombs in Washington, D.C. Defendants disregarded these facts and Mrs. Kirkhoff's humanity when they plucked her from obscurity to satisfy the whims of their conspiracy theory.
Yeah. This suit has a lot more legs than, like, say, Akash Patel's lawsuit against The Atlantic, for example.
Yeah.
Now, Kirkhoff, who now works at the CIA, said Blaze and its reporters, Steve Baker and Joseph Hanneman, used the flimsy allegations against her to generate a dangerous furor that fit the conspiratorial narratives about the attack on the Capitol. She's seeking an unspecified financial award. Baker did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Hanneman could not be immediately reached for comment. A lawyer for Blaze Media said it will vigorously defend this meritless lawsuit challenging its valid news reporting on a matter of legitimate public concern.
Interesting. Blaze News initially reported, as confirmed by official intelligence sources, that based on a forensic gate analysis, Ms. Kirchhoff was a 94% match to the suspected pipe bomber. Lawyer Michael Griegel said in a statement, that report was retracted when the FBI arrested and DOJ charged another individual who had reportedly confessed to the crime. According to the
official intelligence sources did a forensic gate analysis on her and then gave it to Blaze News.
Yeah, and apparently gate analysis are not they don't uphold in court. They're not reliable, anything. According to recent court filings by that individual's legal counsel, Ms. Kirchhoff was a person of interest under surveillance by the FBI and failed a polygraph test administered 2 days before Blaze Media's article was published, Griegel added.
Okay. Well, the Justice Department ultimately rejected the theory that Kirchhoff was the pipe bomber. Instead, last December, they charged Brian Cole with planting the devices, which failed to explode. Cole has pled not guilty and has cited the reporting about Kirchhoff in his bid to raise doubts about the government's case. The allegation, which has remained salient in some far-right circles, has turned Kirchhoff's January 6th reality on its head.
Yeah, Kirchhoff was one of the outnumbered Capitol Police officers who mounted an initial resistance as a mob of Donald Trump supporters barreled across police lines and threatened to breach the Capitol. She fired non-lethal munitions at a crowd that swelled on the Capitol steps, led by Guy Reffitt, a Texas man who carried holstered firearms as they helped lead the charge. Kirchhoff testified against Reffitt at his trial in 2022. The first January 6th case to reach a jury, which resulted in a 7-year prison sentence, cut short, obviously, last year by Trump's mass pardons.
So somebody with a gun went into an area that they weren't supposed to be in, and they were pardoned for it?
Yeah, and they were met with non-lethal pepper balls, and yeah.
All right. Now, Kirchhoff later left the Capitol Police and went to work for the CIA. The agency, she indicated in the lawsuit, placed her on leave during the FBI's probe, but recalled her after the Bureau cleared Kirchhoff as a suspect. She noted in her lawsuit that she provided the FBI evidence that she was at home with her new puppy the evening of January 5th when the pipe bombs were planted. Kirchhoff noted that Baker himself was charged for his part in the breach of the Capitol, pleading guilty to misdemeanor crimes before the case was shut down by Trump's pardon. In addition to Blaze, Baker, and Hanneman, the lawsuit also names a new media firm, Veritas Regnat, LLC. That company was founded in March and lists Hanneman as its agent, according to Wisconsin corporate records.
Kirchhoff is represented by an Alexandria-based law firm, Claire Locke, which is renowned for pursuing defamation cases. It was among the firms representing voting equipment maker Dominion Voting Systems in its defamation case against Fox News, which the network settled in 2023, as you all will remember, for almost $800 million.
Okay. I'm going to have to correct the reporter. It was $987.5 million.
Hello.
I remember that very
that number
very
is
clearly.
Very salient, right?
Right. It's a very specific number, and it's been stuck in my head since then, probably taking up room from other things like what I did yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow. So I think that this is a pretty powerful lawsuit. Claire Locke is a really powerful law firm. They're very good at these defamation cases. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens when discovery comes out, to see what U.S. intelligence official did a gate analysis and gave it to Blaze. Like, I'm interested to see that unless Blaze settles, so that they don't have to go through discovery, because I think it's going to turn out to be extremely embarrassing for them.
Yeah. So also on the backgrounds of this, apparently this is just through reading Twitter posts from Mr. Baker and people in Blaze, that Mr. Baker was fired from the Blaze and still continued to is still continuing. I think his post most recent after the lawsuit was made public is discovery is going to be fun. I think that was his tweet afterwards. So
I agree with him on one thing. It is going to be fun.
It is going to be fun, isn't it? And also, like, I like the part that they in here. Kirchhoff noted that Baker himself was charged for his part of the breach in the Capitol, pleading guilty to misdemeanor crimes because he is the same individual that attacked me through media and social media and was unrelenting about calling me a fraud and stuff like that. And, so I'm glad that this is being taken on. I'm rooting, obviously, just for the good guys, but also personally rooting for this Mr. Baker to be held accountable, since the pardon did away with all accountability for his actions on January 6th.
Yeah, a little justice by proxy for one.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was looking for. Justice by proxy.
We used to talk about that all the time on the Mueller She Wrote podcast. We'd be like, look, okay, Donald Trump's not going to be indicted, but maybe we'll get some justice by proxy from some of these civil lawsuits.
Yeah, yep. And, that's what we can hope for now.
Yeah, then especially now with the January 6th lawsuits, that Judge Mehta is allowing them to go forward.
Absolutely.
Saying that you don't have civil immunity. Because overthrowing the government is not part of your job. I'm sorry, it's just not.
Period.
If you're the government, overthrowing the government isn't part of your job. Sorry, nobody hit your buzzer. Try again. All right. Well, again, I look forward to this. I look forward to the discovery. Probably more than Mr. Baker does. I imagine he's probably sweating a little bit.
I feel like he's an investigative reporter. So his words, he's an investigative reporter, investigative journalist. So I feel like discovery, that's what investigative journalists are really good at, discovering before discovery. And if his discovery at this point has landed him in a lawsuit, that's not good investigative journalism. So
any legit investigative journalist would have called Kirchhoff up to see where she was.
Sounds that way.
Yeah, you would think.
Yeah.
All right, we've got more news that we have to get to today, but we have to take a quick break, so everybody stick around. We'll be right back. DeleteMe makes it easy, quick, and safe to remove your personal data online at a time when surveillance and data breaches are common enough to make everyone vulnerable. I think one of the most unsettling things about being online right now is how easy it is for strangers to find out personal information about you. If your address, phone number, family members' names are hanging out there on the internet, they can be stolen, scooped up, and that can have real consequences. As someone with a very active online presence, I take that seriously because privacy isn't just about convenience. It's about safety and peace of mind and protecting your personal life and your business. And the risks are not theoretical. More and more online partisans and other bad actors go looking for this information so they can target people. That can mean political rivals, civil servants, small business owners, or people who are simply vocal about their opinions online. Once sensitive information is easy to access, doxing begins a lot easier too. That's why DeleteMe is so useful. It helps protect your privacy before that information can be exploited. And it's better to deal with the problem proactively than wait until it's too late, trust me. I've also known people who have dealt with harassment and identity theft, and once you see how disruptive that can be, it changes how you think about online privacy. And DeleteMe can help reduce how easy it is for strangers to find and use that information in the first place. So take control of your data and keep your private life private by signing up for DeleteMe. Now at a special discount for listeners, get 20% off your DeleteMe plan when you go to joindeleteme.com/cleanup and use promo code cleanup at checkout. Again, the only way to get 20% off is to go to joindeleteme.com/cleanup and enter code cleanup. That's joindeleteme.com/cleanup, code cleanup. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. All right, let's talk for a minute, what happened this weekend, the shooting at the White House Correspondents' Dinner this past Saturday.
Yeah.
So as I was waiting, I was going to say something when we were thanking our patrons about supporting independent media. But I knew we were going to talk about this. And I wanted to say, I initially am just a little disappointed at the amount of, I'm using air quotes, trusted news sources who were in the room at the gala celebrating what the purpose of the White House Correspondents' Dinner is, a celebration of a free press and the First Amendment. That's what it's supposed to be. So I was really disappointed to see some trusted news sources there covering it in celebration of that, because this administration has been anything but celebrating First Amendment rights. So, AG, a couple of points I want to point out here. The president and this administration, they didn't consider it a national special security event, considering the president, the vice president, the speaker of the House, the pro temp, the succession of presidency is all in that room. How is that not right?
That blows my mind because I remember when I first learned about the concept of a national special security event. And it was after January 6th when they were preparing for Joe Biden's inauguration. And we talked a lot here, and I know Andy and I talked a lot about it on Unjustified, about what that entails and what it means. I wonder, can private events like this, because this is a private event. This isn't like a White House event, so a White House ballroom can't be held there. But unless the president holds the White House Correspondents Association dinner, which is antithetical to the entire White House Correspondents Association of having a free press. But wouldn't this normally be considered? Talk a little bit. You have experience with things that are national special security events. Yeah,
so obviously, so I'm sure they had like walkthroughs and little brief planning. But with national security events, they're a lot different. You have coordinated command posts, and like I said, these are all with it not being a special security event. It's kind of just what's the word I'm looking for? Business as usual. When you just like, hey, command posts, let's have this, but with the special security event, the designation, it also brings in more resources that are available to have on standby. Whether, hey, maybe FEMA would have been on standby. Oh, wait, they're in the middle of a shutdown right now. So with the government shutdown. So it just shows a little bit more sense of seriousness. And we just see how unserious this administration is.
Now, have you worked and been part of command posts and coordination for national special security events?
No, I've never been on. I've been on the front line of events that were designated as national special.
Like, what are some examples of events?
State of the Union, joint sessions of Congress where a head of state might come to visit, or with Zelensky would come, where Netanyahu would come, or any head of state would come to the Capitol. Like I said, and most popularly, the State of the Union, which is definitely a national security event because the succession of the presidency. Because
everyone's there except the designated survivor, right?
Exactly. So if you think about it, everybody in line, 1 through 15, maybe more than that, were in that room. So to have that not designated, I don't know if it's an oversight or just shows how incompetent this administration is.
Right. Like, why would you have the entire line of succession in a room with most of your cabinet? And when I understand, I don't think the entire cabinet was there.
Yeah.
And not designated a national security event. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And it seems like they were unprepared for this. But I will say, if what they're putting out is accurate and all the videos that they're putting out, if all that is true, then it looks like security at the hotel did a good job of stopping him before because he just ran through the magnetometers, got at least one shot off, according to this complaint that came from the gun that he had. And it hit a Secret Service or a law enforcement person in their vest who's fine, and they were released from the hospital the next morning. But it seems that they stopped him fairly quickly because he didn't even get to the staircase where we'd have to go down 2 flights of stairs,
and then
into the ballroom where 1,000 people were between that door and the dais, where the president was sitting.
Yeah, it's a giant. The space there, like I said, I've been 3-4 different times.
And you can't just run through it. It's all tables and chairs. Like, you saw people trying to run out and like having to climb up over to,
It's so hard to do. But also, I'm glad that, we saw that, one shot was fired from him, but they reported hearing 5 or 6 shots, I think, when it was first done. And one of my former law enforcement colleagues was asking the question, just like, are we sure that shot came from him? Or was it Secret Service with so much crossfire? So it sucks that we have to question the once premier law enforcement agency in the world. It sucks that we have to question them. And hey, do y'all even know what the hell you're doing and talking about under this incompetent leadership by Kash Patel? But also, what they're talking about just with the individual, the shooter's brother gave a manifesto to New London, Connecticut police, who then gave it to the Secret Service after the shooting. And he had some pretty, I guess, radical views. Is that it? Or I think, was it Nora O'Donnell that asked him, one of the interviews, forgive me if I'm saying the lady's name wrong, But she read a quote excerpt from the manifesto, and Donald Trump didn't take it too well, did he?
No, because the manifesto said, I'm tired of the pedophiles, rapists, traitors, getting in crimes, staining my American citizenship or something to that effect. Didn't mention the name Trump. Nora O'Donnell read it to Donald Trump on 60 Minutes, and he's like, I'm not a rapist. I'm not a pedophile. And she's like, did I say it was you?
Say that.
What? Like, why do you think they're talking about you? And I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
It reminded me of when, remember the guy at the Ford auto plant yelled out,
yes,
fuck you, pedophile.
Yes.
And not Donald Trump, just fuck you, pedophile. And Donald Trump turned around. He answers to pedophile, I guess, and flipped the guy off. So that was quite interesting. And this guy was charged with attempted assassination. So it'll be interesting to see the Department of Justice say, yeah, he was referring to Trump when he said the pedophile, rapist, traitor. Yeah, that's Donald Trump.
So he was charged with attempted assassination, right?
That was added. Yeah, that was added today.
I just don't think that's I don't think that's a charge. Maybe they'll stick. I don't know.
He did say in his manifesto, though, that the targets were the administration starting at the top. Okay. So I think that might cover it if
that might cover.
Pedophile traitor doesn't cover it.
Gotcha.
But, I think, I was texting you when it was going down because, you're a law enforcement friend. And I was like, I don't see how what this guy is doing is different from what Guy Reffitt did when he charged the Capitol with a holstered gun or what Ashley Babbitt did. Now, she wasn't armed, but how about the Oath Keepers who Todd Blanche is trying to vacate the charges against the Oath Keepers who brought a cache of weapons as a quick reaction force, stashed them in a hotel, across the river to use in case they needed them on January 6th. I don't understand how that's different because that's an attempted assassination on the vice president, but Trump pardoned all that. And now they're trying to vacate the charges.
And they were saying while they were chanting, obviously besides the action, this gentleman breached not even federal grounds. He breached a hotel. He breached a hotel room. But the actions of what he did obviously mirror, minus the shot fired, mirror what happened on January 6th. They were there. He was there to, according to the DOJ, assassinate the president or, elected officials. And they said
president, at least.
The vice president, they were there chanting to hang Mike Pence and they're going to kill Nancy Pelosi. So is that attempted assassination also? We'll never know because they got pardoned. So
yeah, well, they got him for seditious conspiracy. But, if I'm this guy's defense attorney, I'm going to say, why are you trying to vacate the charges against the Oath Keepers, but charging my client?
Yeah. I mean, with this guy, let's be 100% clear. This guy was wrong. Full stop, no question about it. I think what we're attempting to highlight here is the double standard of justice. This is wrong. This guy was wrong. We should condemn him. He should not be celebrated, blah, 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 100 times over. But let's keep it consistent with how we are enforcing justice, if you will. And Todd Blanche acknowledging the bravery and the heroism of first responders and law enforcement. Yeah, they absolutely did a great job. But hey, keep that same energy. 6th? Keep that same energy when you're talking about the officers from January 6th, too.
Yeah. And you're exactly right. I'm not condemning the arrest of this guy. I'm condemning the motion to vacate the charges against Stuart Rhodes and his buddies.
Yep.
That's what that's about.
And also, AG, Donald Trump, of course, used this opportunity to talk about his need for a ballroom.
Oh, right. Yeah.
This is why we need a ballroom, guys. This is what. No, it's not. This isn't why we need a ballroom.
You should have made it a national special security event, is what you should have done.
Sounds right to me.
I mean, and I think the thing that stood out to me is in that press conference right after this happened, 30 minutes or so after this happened, Donald Trump says, I didn't want to say it, but I will. We need the ballroom. If Donald Trump says I didn't want to say it, he absolutely wants to say it.
He wanted to say it, yeah.
In fact, that's the whole point of what he's about to say, as a matter of fact. I didn't want to say it. Really? Hey, can you tell me why you didn't want to say that? That would be my first question.
That'd be the follow. Hey, why wouldn't you want to say this?
Why didn't you want to say that we need a ballroom? Is it because you think that's fucking stupid and wholly inappropriate and absolutely ridiculous and doesn't have anything to do with that? I actually put a post on Blue Sky, Harry, right after this happened. And I said, how long before the DOJ files notice with the court in the ballroom construction lawsuit that what happened at the White House Correspondents' Dinner justifies the need to drop the lawsuit? How soon? And people were like, any minute now, any minute now. It took 19 hours. But Todd Blanche did write a letter to the judge.
Yep, immediately, almost immediately after.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are saying it was crafted already in advance because they knew this was coming. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. But
no, but whatever it is, first of all, it's not weird to be skeptical of anything that comes out of this administration. Don't blame anybody for that.
Correct.
But secondly, well, no matter what, using it to justify your $400 million ballroom, when the lawsuit says the bunker can go forward, the construction of the bunker can go forward. But I think they're going to have a hard time with that, given the fact that they didn't use the full force of the National Special Security event designation to unlock all of the resources that were available for security at this particular event.
Yep. And they didn't. So it just goes to continue to further show how incompetent, I think is the best word, this administration is.
Oh, yeah, they're not good. But Donald Trump didn't go to jail. So
that's all that matters, right?
Yeah, I know. All right, we've got more news to get to, including another white supremacist hit with child porn charges. But we have to take a break. Stick around. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, welcome back. Next up, we have yet another child pornographer on the right. From Phil Williams at Channel 5 News in Nashville, a Murfreesboro man who was arrested last year after an armed confrontation with protesters at the Nashville No Kings rally is facing new federal charges, including 2 counts of possessing child pornography. A federal grand jury in Nashville recently returned a superseding indictment against Elijah Miller, 20 years old, adding 2 additional firearms charges, as well as 2 counts of receiving child porn and possession of artwork that depicted children engaged in sex acts.
Of course. Those charges are on top of an initial count for possession of a 6-hour 9mm pistol at a June 2025 No Kings protest in downtown Nashville. Millar had previously been diagnosed with a mental illness that made it illegal for him to have a firearm. According to the new indictment, Millar also previously possessed a Smith & Wesson .38 revolver, a Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun, and a Walther 9x19 millimeter pistol.
What's a 9x19? 19 in the mag?
No clue there.
Yeah, me neither.
I have guns. I'm not that technical about it. I don't know.
No, I know. I've got a Glock 23. It's a 40 caliber, but I don't list that it holds 9 bullets. Anyway.
Yeah, weird.
Millar was arrested on June 14th, 2025, almost a year ago, after he brandished a handgun while clashing with a few thousand protesters who attended a peaceful No Kings rally in downtown Nashville. Remember this?
Yep. Sure.
News Channel 5 Investigates later revealed a disturbing history of Millar being fascinated with Adolf Hitler and mass murderers. His social media accounts showed he had decorated several firearms in a style that mimicked some notorious mass murderers. Millar has been in federal custody since his arrest last June of last year, I should say.
That's crazy. This 20 years, this kid's 20 years old, and he's out there, think about when No Kings protests stemmed, that stemmed from January 6th. I think it's safe to say that movement, but the movement of it was because of the Supreme Court's decision July the following year or 2 years after, saying that he had immunity. And I think that's where No King stemmed from. If this guy's 20 years old, that means he was 15, 14 when January 6th happened, 5.5 years ago. Yeah. So this guy had maybe been groomed, as some people would use the language. It's how did a 14-year-old get radicalized by that much on that day, by that time? So
that's a vulnerable time.
That's mind-blowing that the kid's 20 years old. And January 6th was 5.5 years ago. Crazy.
Well, I remember back in the 80s when they were recruiting Nazis into skinhead gangs. It was 13, 14, 15-year-olds who couldn't talk to girls, who felt really lonely, who felt like they couldn't get a break, and they they get into the minds of these young men and tell them that it's the fault of brown people and women, and et cetera.
And they run with it.
You should join our group and of white supremacists. It's a very very targeted type of recruitment. It's been going on for decades in this country, and recently, starting in the mid-teens, it became the domestic violent extremism became the number one terrorist threat to the United States.
Yep.
Of course, that's all been dismantled now, and now we're actually filing charges against the Southern Poverty Law Center for trying to infiltrate these groups.
Unbelievable.
So, yeah, it shows exactly where this administration's at. All right, let's turn to Congress for a minute. MS Now was first to report in September on an undercover FBI operation in which Tom Homan was recorded on tape accepting $50,000 in cash in 2024 after indicating he could help the agents who were posing as business executives. He could help them win government contracts in a second Trump administration. FBI and Justice Department officials plan to wait to see whether Homan would deliver on his alleged promise, but the case ultimately stalled after Trump took office, as we know. And then he's made Homan the White House border czar. Trump appointees officially closed the investigation 7 months ago. The search for answers on Capitol Hill, however, in Congress is ongoing.
Yeah, that's encouraging because we know this administration isn't going to do anything. But leave it to Congress. They have investigative powers too. Senator Jackie Rosen, Democratic from Nevada, for example, has pushed the DOJ's Inspector General to conduct a robust investigation into the bribery probe and the department's handling of the case to ensure Mr. Homan's fitness for the job. 3 Democratic senators, Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island, Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, and Adam Schiff of California, each of them serve on the Senate Judiciary Committee, have pursued a different course. As Maddow blog was the first to report in November, the senators filed a Freedom of Information Act FOIA request with the DOJ's criminal division, demanding a variety of details related to this case. The trouble with FOIA requests, however, is they tend to take a very long time to generate the meaningful responses. AG, you know about that, right?
I absolutely do. And I think that's why our friend Katie Fang has filed a lawsuit in the Epstein files case, saying that because it doesn't take, that's where the harm is for journalists, is because FOIA takes too long. Because generally, in order to sue, you need to show that you've been harmed and that you don't have any alternative remedies. And usually the alternative remedy is a FOIA request. But what, I think what Katie can argue is, that takes years and years and years. And the Epstein Files Transparency Act was due December 19th of last year. And so it's a timing issue.
Yep.
We'll see how that goes, and we'll talk more about that. I'm actually going to talk to Katie on the breakdown this weekend on the Midas Touch Network. So
that's going to be exciting. Make sure y'all tune in for that. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be good. But White House Blumenthal and Schiff, taking advantage of the procedural rules, asked for expedited processing of their request. I've done this in all my FOIA cases, pointing to a specific provision of law. FOIA requests for records are handled quickly if they deal with a matter of widespread and exceptional media interest in which there exist possible questions about the government's integrity, which affects public confidence. That's pretty much everything the administration does.
Yeah.
Not surprisingly, the senators made the case that this applies to the Homan controversy. The DOJ's Office of Information Policy, which handles FOIA requests, nevertheless rejected the senators' request, telling them it, quote, determined that your request for expedited processing should be denied, effectively concluding that an expedited review was unwarranted because the Homan controversy isn't a matter of widespread and exceptional media interest. And I have to tell you, in my Epstein Files FOIA case, they did the same thing. They said, you don't get expedited review because the Epstein matter is not of exceptional and widespread media interest. And I was like, oh, okay. Now, White House Blumenthal and Schiff are now pushing back, telling the DOJ office in a letter sent late last week. They're like, you're full of it. You have that letter, right?
Yeah. Yeah, here we go. Here, the government's decision to close a corruption investigation into a high-ranking White House official who was caught taking bribe money from undercover officers spawned a deluge of media coverage reflecting widespread and exceptional media interest. And Homan's reported acceptance of $50,000 that bribed from undercover agents, the inability of Homan or any other government official to account for the money. Where is the money? the lack of clarity on whether Homan paid taxes on it or declared it on his required financial disclosures, and the abrupt closure of the investigation once Homan became a White House official all raise questions about the government's integrity that affect public confidence.
You think?
Yeah, all of that. Challenging the DOJ's findings, the Democratic lawmakers added that the controversy is undoubtedly a matter of widespread media interest, as reflected in the in-depth and intense coverage of Homan's undercover sting beginning last fall, which more than satisfies the legal requirement.
Yeah, and it's important to emphasize the DOJ hasn't formally denied the senator's request for the documents. It denied their request to address the matter quickly.
Yeah.
That said, the Democrats believe the law is on their side for an expedited review, and additional resistance would open up the door to a potential lawsuit. Yes, please sue.
Yes.
For his part, Homan sat down with Fox News' Laura Ingraham shortly after MS Now broke the story last September, and the host offered him an opportunity to deny the allegations. The White House border czar insisted he did nothing illegal, but it was hard not to notice that he carefully avoided the underlying question of whether he actually accepted the $50,000 cash in a kava bag. In January, Homan also appeared on NBC's Meet the Press, and when host Kristen Welker asked, "Where is that $50,000? Did you keep it or did you return it?" the border czar said he didn't take $50,000 from anybody.
No, it wasn't a kava bag. It was a Chipotle bag. So no, I didn't take $50,000. Like, oh.
Nobody takes bribes in kava bags.
Kava bags. Of course, everybody puts them in Chipotle bags.
That's the preferred bribe bag right there.
Press further on whether there was $50,000 in the bag and whether he returned it. Homan said he was not addressing the matter, adding, "I will not answer any more of these questions." All right. MS Now's Ken Delanian explained online after the controversy first broke, to settle this, it would be great if the White House would just would release the case files and any FBI recordings of Homan's meetings with undercover agents posing as businessmen. To date, that hasn't happened. Ken Delanian says, it would be great if the White House would just release. Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great? All you got to do is release the case file.
And that's it.
Yeah.
We'll take it from here. You don't have to comment anymore. We'll take it from here.
Give us those audio tapes.
Yeah.
Or admit they don't exist. A lot of times when you file a FOIA request, it's just to get to the government to try to say that it doesn't exist or admit that it does exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like my FOIA request for the Epstein, redact Trump's name from the files training videos.
Yeah.
That went out. Part of it is, if I get the videos, great. But what if even them just admitting they exist is a huge story?
Yeah, because they exist. Exactly. So
yeah,
that's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So for them to come, yeah, we have those recordings, but we're not releasing them. Oh, what? You have the recordings of him accepting a $50,000 bribe?
Okay.
Or do the recordings, so you have the recordings. Okay, do they show that he accepted the bribe or rejected it? We should hear them. That's kind of... Agree. That's kind of one of the great things about filing FOIA lawsuits is, again, it's not always necessarily, ultimately it is about getting those documents and recordings and things, but it's also about getting the government to admit that they exist or don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we have, again, sorry, no Rudy in the Pillowman news this week, but we do have a couple more stories for you, but we have to take one last quick break. Stick around. We'll be right back.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Okay, before we finish up, we got a couple more stories for you for this week. Now, this one is from Politico. President Donald Trump's $10 billion lawsuit against the IRS over the leaking of his tax returns ran into turbulence Friday as a judge ordered a hearing on whether the Constitution allows the president to sue the federal government he oversees. Mm-hmm. U.S. District Court Judge Kathleen Williams has asked Trump's private attorneys and Justice Department lawyers representing the IRS to address whether his control over the government's actions in this case means it's the kind of dispute federal courts cannot consider.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Quote, although President Trump avers that he's bringing this lawsuit in his personal capacity, he is the sitting president, and his named adversaries are entities whose decisions are subject to his direction. That's what the judge wrote in a 4-page order. And here's the kicker. It is unclear to this court whether the parties are sufficiently adverse to each other so as to satisfy the Constitution's case or controversy requirement. Do you remember when I brought this up last week when we were talking about the Oath Keepers?
Sure did.
to vacate the Oath Keepers case. And it's
Sure
the
did.
parties unopposed. Nobody disagrees. And it's like, yeah, because there's no adversary here. There needs to be, we have an adversarial system of government in the judicial branch. And
you called this, AG. You did.
We're seeing
you called
it
this.
here.
Yep.
Yeah. Now, Williams, the judge, a Miami-based appointee of Obama, noted that Trump had personally acknowledged the novelty of the situation. He personally acknowledged it. Shortly after the filing of his suit in January, he agreed with a reporter that it was unusual to be on both sides of a lawsuit. It's also unconstitutional.
You think? Last year, speaking about a separate legal claim he filed with the Justice Department, Trump was even more blunt about the political conflict. It sort of looks bad. I'm suing myself, right? He said that about the demand, which seeks $230 million over the court-approved FBI raid on Mar-a-Lago and various federal investigations into him. Williams also pointed to Trump's attempts to consolidate his power over the executive branch through executive orders. Several advance a legal theory known as the unitary executive, under which the president wields full control over the actions of most or perhaps all executive branch employees.
Now, the judge noted that one such order Trump signed last year essentially forbids government employees acting in their official capacity from advancing legal positions at odds with legal positions staked out by the president. Quote, one such employee of the executive branch, the attorney general, has a statutory obligation to defend the IRS when it's hailed into court, but then is ostensibly required by executive mandate to adhere to Trump's opinion on matters of law in such a case. That raises questions over whether the parties here are truly antagonistic to each other.
Yikes. An additional complication is that Trump is not the only plaintiff in the case. His sons Eric and Don Jr. and a company that controls much of the family business empire also joined the suit. Williams ordered both sides to submit briefs on the issue by May 20th. Like both sides, like Trump, respond to both of these yourself. And she set a hearing on the matter for May 27th. An IRS contractor, Charles Littlejohn, was sentenced in 2024 to 5 years in prison after pleading guilty to giving journalists copies of Trump's tax returns and those of other wealthy individuals.
Yeah. So basically, Trump and the IRS have to file briefs. Well, DOJ and IRS have to file briefs to explain to the judge how she has jurisdiction, since there's no adversarial thing going on here. There's no antagony.
Yeah.
Now, asked about the judge's order, a spokesperson for Trump's legal team sent a statement decrying the leak, but not addressing the judge's concerns. Quote, the IRS wrongly allowed a rogue, politically motivated employee, to leak the private and confidential information, about Trump and his family, That's what the statement said. President Trump continues to hold those who wrong America and Americans accountable. Didn't mention the fact that he's suing himself at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that we're seeing an issue here. I know that some Democrats in Congress have issued a bill saying you can't sue if you're part of the federal government. You can't sue the federal government.
Yeah.
Like Donald Trump is doing here. And I think that this same issue, and we'll see what Judge Mehta has to say, will come up in the Oath Keepers bid. And the DOJ's bid to vacate their stuff. Now, it came up in Mike Flynn's case, too, and they brought in a third guy to be the adversary, right? They brought in retired Judge Gleason, but eventually, and unfortunately, the case was ultimately dismissed. And I imagine the ones against the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys will be as well. Those cases will be dropped. They'll be vacated, those charges. But it's going to be interesting to see here if this is any different because of the unitary executive theory and separation of powers concerns and all of that. So
I actually agree with the statement that, the lawyers put out, but where they did not address the actual problem, though, because listen, there was an employee that did leak Donald Trump's tax returns, and that's illegal. And the guy was held accountable. And, we live in a world where if somebody does something wrong, that you can hold them accountable and do it civilly, too.
Yeah. And then you would think that that person would pay restitution to the victims. Correct. But then to have the president, who's also a private party, sue his own IRS for $10 billion.
Yeah, this is egregious. And like I said, if it was anybody else besides Donald Trump or some grifters, then I'd be like, okay, no harm, no foul. But this guy only wants what's best for himself and not the country.
I wonder if Little John actually paid restitution. Did he pay restitution
Good
to
question.
the government?
So this was in 2024. So he was sentenced in 5 years. So he still has until 2029 to get out. And you know that Donald Trump ain't giving that guy no leniency or clemency.
No,
so he looks like he's going to have to do his entire 5 years.
So I'll look. Actually, I'll pull up this Politico report and type in restitution. It's not mentioned, so I'm not sure he had to pay restitution. But if he did, the judge could be like, "Look, he paid his. You can't just sue the Anyway, we'll keep an eye on it because I think that adversarial constitutional requirement is supremely important.
Yep, totally agree. All right, y'all. Like we said, we don't have any Rudy and Pillowman news, but we have the next best thing. An update on Devin Nunes. And this is from Mother Jones. Devin Nunes was not an obvious choice to run a fledgling social media network, but after $1.1 billion in losses, the former dairy farmer and congressman is out as the head of Truth Social. Donald Trump Jr., a board member at Trump Media Technology, the parent company of Truth Social, said on Tuesday night that Nunes would be replaced by another executive who formerly worked at Hulu. Nunes confirmed the move in a Truth Social post of his own.
He's fired from Truth Social on Truth Social. The company, which is majority owned by Donald Trump, has seen its stock plummet 84% under Nunes's leadership from its debut price of $58 back in 2024. The current share price is around $9.80. It's arguably still optimistic for a company that has lost $1.1 billion since it went public and recorded just over $10.6 million in revenue at the same time. Even as the company struggled, Nunes prospered. In 2024 alone, his pay outstripped any revenue the company has made over his lifetime. Wow. Over its lifetime, excuse me. He drew a salary of $1 million, a bonus of $600,000, and was awarded stock worth another $46 million.
Sheesh.
To be fair to Nunes, he was asked to oversee a company that, despite having one of the world's most recognizable faces as its power user, had a remarkably scattershot approach to everything.
I thought it was going to say having the world's most disgusting faces. That would have fit too. When Trump Media was first announced as a concept, the Trump family said it would include Truth Social, streaming television services to rival Netflix and Amazon, and web hosting that would rival Amazon's AWS business. And all of it would be devoted to fighting the woke media and corporate culture that Trump said had blacklisted him following the January 6th event at the Capitol. Truth Social would be a readout for freedom of speech. The streaming service would have a wholesome, non-woke content that America craved, and the web hosting would provide a home for any company that dared to challenge Amazon's alleged anti-free speech motivations.
Trump Media's boldest move under Nunes might have been the idea to pivot to nuclear power, specifically the largely experimental method of nuclear fusion. In nuclear fission, which is the method used for decades, atoms are split, but in fusion pushes atoms together and it generates even more energy. But the process has never been made commercially viable. In late 2025, Trump Media announced it would be merging with TAE Technologies, a longstanding player in the fusion field, which, despite having previously secured funding, was still struggling to build an actual power plant. The merger, which is supposed to be completed in June, would have made Nunes co-CEO of the social media, streaming, web hosting, financial products, Bitcoin treasury, and nuclear fusion company.
Jeez.
Okay.
All this from a guy who was a dairy farmer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot, man. All of that is a lot of responsibility for Nunes, who began his career working on the family dairy farm in Southern California in early 1990s. He has a degree in agriculture, first elected to Congress in 2003, and served for 19 years, including several as the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, where he and one of his staffers, Kash Patel, became two of Trump's loudest backers in accusing a deep state in the intelligence community of having targeted Trump. Nunes confirmed his departure from Trump Media, but did not say what he would be doing next. He remains chairman of Trump's Intelligence Advisory Board.
What is Trump's Intelligence Advisory Board?
I don't know. Ask Kristi Noem, I guess. I don't know.
Is that how to, I guess, identify a giraffe? Or To know man, person, woman, camera, TV. Like, what is the Trump Intelligence Advisory Board? To know what 600% means? Like, I don't understand.
Who knows?
Well, bye, Nunes. Nunes. He's out. OWT. Loss of $1.1 billion. Put that on your resume.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? You're like, hey, yeah, I'm looking for a job. I mean, this the last company I was at, I lost $1.1 billion, but I'm a hard worker.
Yeah. And I know Donald Trump. He knows me well.
Oh my goodness. Well, bye. And maybe we'll have some Rudy and the Pillowman news next week. Who knows? But regardless, we're going to see our patrons this Thursday on our happy hour Zoom call, 4:30 p.m.
Can't wait.
Pacific, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to see a bunch of you at the June 20th gala. Thank you for buying tickets. Man, they went fast. But I'm looking forward to that. And keep an eye on your inbox for the announcement of the election night results watching party. I'm not sure where I'm going to have it yet. I was thinking here in San Diego, but it might be harder for people to get all the way out to the West Coast. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'll keep everybody posted.
It'll be fun. So can't wait to see everybody on Thursday. Like I said, for our patron happy hour. It's going to be so fun.
It's going to be.
Cocktails, mocktails, whatever.
Holiday Inn.
I know. You went Holiday Inn, I went DuckTales. Like, both of them work. I like Holiday Inn better.
I like that you went DuckTales and I went Grandmaster Flash.
Exactly.
Cocktails, mocktails, Holiday Inn. If your girl starts acting up, then you bring her friends.
Friends.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week, and we'll see you this weekend on the bonus episode if you're a patron. And thanks so much. Thanks so much for listening and supporting independent media. I'm Allison Gill.
Harry Dunn. Thanks, y'all.
Cleanup on Aisle 45 is written, researched, and produced by Allison Gill, with editing by Molly Hockey. Our art and logo design are by Joelle Reeder and Moxie Design Studios, and our music is composed and performed by Adam Orr. Cleanup on Aisle 45 is a proud member of the MSW Media Network, a collection of creator-owned podcasts dedicated to news, politics, and justice. For more information, visit mswmedia.com. MSW Media.